G'day guys, how's everyone doing? Today we're going to be making a army of followers. I didn't realize it would turn out this way, but I actually realized that you can duplicate the followers and they will all follow you around. And isn't that awesome? Okay, so at the core of things, making a follower is very easy to do. But what I'm thinking here is I can at least kind of teach you a little bit about how AI works. And there's a couple of different things that you need when you're building a piece of artificial intelligence in Unreal Engine. And I mean, it's a very easy system, but it still is artificial intelligence. So this will show you a little bit about behavior trees and things like that. So there are two things that a character needs, and our follower is a character. In Unreal Engine, a character is possessed by a controller. So what that means is essentially a controller receives input from the keyboard, things like that, and then the controller uses that input to control the character. So let's get started. I'm going to come into content here and then make a new folder called, I don't know, we'll just call it follower. And inside the follower folder, I'm going to make another folder called behavior. And in here, we're going to define some of the behavior for our follower. And then I'm also going to make a blueprint folder. And that's going to store the blueprint derivative of our C++ code. So, let's get started. So I'm going to start off by coming into the C++ classes. And then I will just make a new C++ class. We're going to click on Show All Classes, and then I'll type in AI Controller. And if I click on that, I can now make a AI Controller, which is going to be used to control our AI. And the thing about an AI Controller is it's not going to have any input because AI doesn't receive input from the player, usually. But you can have that as well, actually, I believe. So what we're going to do is I'm going to call this Controller AI follower. So this is the AI controller for my follower class. And I'll add that. And then afterwards, I'm going to add a character. Really quickly, I'm just going to come into the behavior folder that I made. And you right click and go to artificial intelligence and make a behavior tree. I'm going to call this BT underscore follower. And you also need a blackboard. And I'm going to call that BB underscore follower. So the blackboard stores a bunch of variables that will be used by the behavior tree. And the behavior tree issues services and things like that that will do different things. And more on that later. I'll show you guys how we do that. The last thing I'm going to do is make one more class. We'll go new C++ class, character, and we're going to call this character follower. So we'll make that. And I think that's pretty much it. I think we should be good to go after we make that. Alright, so let's get started. Okay, so like I said, our artificial intelligence is not going to need any input. So we can just get rid of that. And we can also get rid of this tick function here. So just get rid of it over here as well. So now all we have is the constructor, and we have this little begin play thing here. So let's start off in our header file. The only thing that our character needs is this behavior tree. And so that we can set it inside of the editor, I'm going to use edit anywhere. And we'll give it a category of behavior. And I think that's pretty much all we need. Yeah, we'll come back to that class, but I'm going to go into the controller now. So the controller has a little bit more tacked onto it. The controller is going to have a constructor, so we'll say a controller AI follower. And all of this is going to be public as well. And then we need the possess function, which is a virtual function. So we're going to override that virtual function from the parent class. So what possess is it's basically a function, and it will be called when we possess something. So I explained before, the purpose of a controller is to possess a character and make it do stuff. So when the controller first possesses the character, this function here gets called. So I'm going to go in quick actions and then create a definition of this function. We can just close that. And I'm also going to make a void function called setPlayerToFollow. And that's going to take a pawn as input. And we'll make two protected variables. So we have this blackboard component and a behavior component. And these are just referenced in the code blueprint side of things. I'll show you in a second. Okay. So in our CPP, we need to reference all of the blackboard and behavior tree stuff. I'm just going to copy and paste this in. But these are basically just some header files that reference the behavior tree and blackboard stuff. We also need to implement our constructor. And inside of the constructor, I'm just going to initialize these two components here. So I will say behavior comp equals create default subobject u behavior tree component. We're going to pass in behavior comp as the name. And then we'll just do the exact same for our other component, which is the blackboard. So I'll just say blackboard comp. So now our behavior component and our blackboard component have been initialized. I'll go to possess here, and I'm going to say super possess, and then pass in the pawn as well. It's always a good idea, generally speaking, to call the super function. Sometimes there are cases where you don't want to call the super function, but most of the time you do. It all depends. So we're going to get a reference to the character, and to do that I need to include the header file up here, so we'll say include character follower.h. So we'll call this AI character, and what we're going to do is cast the pawn into our AI. And this cast should always work, because the pawn that we're possessing, we know that it is a follower character. So this cast should always work. But regardless, I am still going to check if it is valid or not. So we'll say if AI character. And I'll put a wee comment here. Actually, we won't worry about it. We're going to say that if the behavior tree blackboard asset is valid, which it should be. It should always be valid, but again, it's good to check before we do things. We're going to say initialize the blackboard. And you guys really don't have to remember this code here, because you only do this once and then you kind of just forget about it. I currently have AI done in my project. You always need to initialize your blackboard once, and I usually just do it in my base class. So I'm usually always just doing it once anyway. We're also going to start the behavior tree, so we'll do a start tree, and then get our AI character, and then get the behavior tree from the AI character, which is that thing there. The last thing we need to do is set a variable in our blackboard that will reference the player. So before I told you that the blackboard here has variables, and the behavior tree will get variables from the blackboard and then use it on the tree. So we need to update the blackboard with a new variable. This might sound a little bit weird or confusing, but once you do this a few times, it becomes pretty natural to do. You'll understand it eventually. It'll start to get a lot easier. So we're going to check if the blackboard is valid. And if the blackboard is valid, we're going to use set value as object. So I'm going to set the key player to follow equal to player to follow. Oh, actually, sorry, I made it pawn. A better variable name would be player to follow, but I'll just keep it as pawn. It's not really a big deal. So what we're saying is get the blackboard component and set the value of this blackboard key to the pawn. And we'll come back into the character here. We're just going to do some one last quick thing. So we're going to get the controller. And to do that, I'm going to use include controller AI follower. AI controller. We're going to cast and we can use this function which is called Git Controller. So the pawn is being controlled by a controller, so all the pawns will be able to call Git Controller to get the controller that is currently controlling them. And we're also going to get the main character. So my character right now is called Kun character. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say a Kun character and I'm going to get my character. And we also need to include the header for that. So to get the character, we're going to use gameplay statics get player character, and then we just pass in this and the player index, which is 0. So now we have a reference to the controller that is controlling our character, and then we have the main character itself. So I'll leave some comments. This is the character the follower should follow, and this is the thing controlling our AI character. We're going to check if the AI controller is valid, which again, it should always be valid, but it's nice to check. And we're going to say, if it is valid, set player to follow to our main character. So everything should be set nicely in our Blackboard now, and all we need to do is create a behavior tree to actually sort of bring it all together. So I'm going to build that. While that's building, I'll just come into our behavior tree here. So this is the... Oops, we got something going on here. I missed a semicolon. So that should work now. Anyways, in our behavior tree, we have this node here, which is the root node. The root node defines the base of the tree. What we're going to do is drag out from this and make a sequence. A sequence is very similar to this thing, which is a selector. And the difference between these, it actually says here, it will stop executing the children when one of their children succeeds, and this is the opposite. It will stop executing when one of their children fails. So in this case it doesn't matter because we're only going to have one child anyway, so we're just going to use a sequence. It doesn't really matter. We'll drag down and we're going to use the move to task. So there are a bunch of different tasks we can use. Move to is a task that will make our AI move somewhere. And that is a nice predefined thing that Unreal Engine comes with. You don't have to make your own move to. Right, let's see here. We'll go back to the blackboard. We're going to add a new key of object type. For some reason I can't add it. I'm going to compile anyway. Should be able to add a key. Here we are. So I'm going to click player to follow. We'll go new key and name it player to follow. Since it's an object, we actually need to tell it what the base class is. And in this case it is an actor. Generally you won't have to deal with that too much, but because we're using object, you do have to tell it what base class it's using. And now we're pretty much good to go. If we go back into the behavior tree now, you can see it's already updated and it wants to move to the player to follow, which is our player. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say only move to the player if we actually have a player to follow. So to do that, we're going to right click and go add decorator blackboard. And this is a blackboard based condition. And as you can see, the condition right now is set player to follow. So what we're saying is only move to the player if we actually know the player. We know what the player is, right? We're basically just checking if the player is valid before we move to the player. So I'm going to save that, and hopefully we are all good to go. I just need to quickly make a blueprint, so I'm going to right click on our character follower, create blueprint class. We'll put it inside blueprint, and we'll say BP AI follower, create class. So the last thing to do now is to give it a mesh. So we'll go to mesh, and I'm just going to give it the mannequin mesh. We will need to rotate the mesh so that it's facing the right way. Move it down. And I think that's pretty much good to go. If I click on BP AI follower, I'll need to set up the behavior tree, which is this one here. And I also need to select the AI controller, which is that one that we made. Now the last thing to do is our AI will need a navigation mesh. So we'll need to go to search classes and type in nav, and just drag a nav bounds volume into the world. And just make sure that the nav bounds wraps around the entire world. If we don't have one of these, our AI won't know where they're going, basically. And you can press P on your keyboard to make sure that it wraps around the entire map. So, I think we should be good to go. I'm going to make them all small and cute, because why not? We'll go to mesh. Actually, I'll drag him in, and I'll make him 0.6 on the scale. So he's all itty bitty. He's like an actual follower. And hopefully he follows us. There we go. Now, he's not animating right now. He looks ridiculous. Let's fix that. We're going to go to the mesh. We're going to go to animation and select anim... I think it's third person anim BP. I actually can't remember what the custom third person BP is. So there we go. So now he's animating. I have no idea what that green glow is. That's a little weird. But anyways, we got him working. As a quick test, I don't know if this will work, but I'm just going to try put lots of them in the world and see if they all follow me. I don't know if that'll work. I haven't actually tried that. I don't see why it wouldn't work. That is great. I think that is a good place to end this video. We have a small army of minions. And, yeah, okay, well, there you guys go. That's how to make a follower, or a follower army in Unreal Engine. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Stay tuned, I'll put out some more videos soon. And thank you very much for watching.